Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Brian Martindale, the Executive Director of Kidneys for Kids, and I'm with the Good Karma TV network today. And we're in Jacksonville, Florida, and we're visiting with my good friend Shirley Brill. Shirley is the Executive Director President of Educating Minorities About Transplants, correct?
Correct.
And thank you again for joining us. It's so good to see you again this year.
Thank you. I enjoyed your visit last year and look forward to hearing wonderful things about what you're doing this year.
Oh, well, we're going to talk about what you're doing here because we didn't get proper coverage last year. So we want to start with Shirley. First of all, you are a transplant recipient.
Double lung transplant, just celebrated 17 years. Looking forward to reaching 18 years.
And you're doing well.
I am.
And you're a walking example of what organ donation.
Organ donation is so important. The mission of educating minorities about transplants, better known as EMAT,
right,
is to educate first of all, and to spread awareness about the importance of organ donation. Because without organ donation, I'm almost positive I wouldn't be here today.
Right.
Someone said yes to organ donation and it saved my life.
Right.
So that's what inspired me to form the organization along with a friend, EMAT.
Right.
And we just want to get the word out because of the many misconceptions that still circulate among people, and they keep feeding those same myths over and over, generation after generation. And we kind of go out in the community and let them see people who have experienced a transplant, to let them know that, the things that you hear aren't necessarily true. They're not going to try to help you if you face an emergency and on your way to the hospital. And I think the more people see transplant recipients and we share our stories out in the community.
Right.
And people are really surprised. You can be in a crowd of people and, we ask them sometimes teasingly, well, do you know anybody who's had a transplant? I sure don't. Well, guess what? You're talking to someone right now.
Right.
And, they're surprised. I think they think you look sickly or, there's so many of us just right among you.
Right.
So
they think we're, or even with the donors sometimes, they think we're disabled after becoming a donor for giving away an organ as a living person. But then, yes, you receiving an organ, a deceased organ, they still think sometimes that because you're an organ transplant recipient that there's some disability or you're living less than your full life.
Absolutely.
But you're living a full life with 2 lungs going on 18 years.
And it has made such a difference. I enjoy telling them some of the things that I've seen.
Yeah.
With my second chance extended, I've seen my grandchildren graduate.
Right.
I now enjoy 3 great-grandchildren who just left here just last week. And, life is just special. Every day is a blessing.
Absolutely.
And because I'm an organ donor, and of course you can't leave God out because he orchestrates everything with our lives.
Absolutely.
But between the two of them, I'm here to enjoy numerous days.
Yes. Now, when did you form EMAT?
EMAT was initially formed in 2015. We just celebrated 10 years of existence.
Congratulations.
Started as a Facebook group. We were in a meeting, multicultural task force is what it was called.
Okay.
And in that meeting, they were giving some of the statistics of donors in the African American community. And to me and some of the others there, it was just unbelievable. You wouldn't think that the numbers were that low.
Right.
And not just here in the state of Florida, but in the nation.
In the nation, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So after that, I said, well, you know what? I'm going to go home and form a Facebook group, just to share my story, first of all.
Right.
And then to let people know, and for the same reason, to try to get rid of some of those myths and try to set up events where we could go out and share the information that we know. And also a group where we could all come together.
Right.
And that's important too. We try to mentor people that we know are facing the transplant experience, share what we've gone through, try to pull new people in. We even have people who are not, transplant community. They just have an interest
Okay.
in saving lives, because that's what it's all about.
Right.
Saving lives.
Right. Because that's what we're doing in the living donor community, is just trying to inspire. As you said, by being a living example. In my case, I'm just a 63-year-old living example of being a living kidney donor and running around with one kidney and telling people I have the energy of a 30-year-old. I'm very blessed every day. I live a fulfilling life because I've seen my recipient grow from a 10-year-old girl to a 23-year-old woman, healthy, and knowing that I had a part of that, and now part of me is doing things like getting a doctorate degree in neuroscience and doing all these things that, when she was 10, she received my kidney, and, a 10-year-old, wants to do things, for other people when she gets older, because things were done for her. But then to see her actually do those things is the biggest blessing for me. Tell me more about, I know you do a lot of mentoring too, and I just talked to you about a person who's in need here of possibly a transplant, and you guide them through things like when they don't have medical insurances and all those things. Talk about all those
insurance,
things you do.
and in talking with a lot of people, the process of getting an organ transplant, whether it be lung, heart, kidneys, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
There are certain things that all of us have to deal with, and like you said, insurance, a lot of times that's a big barrier for anybody.
For healthcare, yeah.
Also, having a caregiver. I talked to someone and they have to have dental work done before. I mean, there's just so many things that people can run up against.
Before transplant.
Before transplant. Even I had to lose 100 pounds. I know you said somebody had lost weight. Well, before I could get these lungs, I had to lose 100 pounds.
Wow.
And our biggest interest, or I should say mine, but it rolls over into the group, is of course kidney, because we know that's where the greatest need is.
Right.
We're trying to start a program now among churches because so many people have hypertension, high blood pressure,
Right.
and diabetes.
The two biggest causes.
The two biggest causes. And who doesn't know someone? And especially if you're not a person who visits your doctor's office on a regular basis,
Right.
you could be sitting with kidney disease and don't know it.
Right.
And, that's one of the biggest problems. A lot of times, because kidney disease may not give you any symptoms until the end, until you're at their 5 stages.
Yep.
And once you get to stage 5, you only have 2 choices. That's dialysis or a kidney transplant.
Right.
So we're trying to push educating people now about make sure you get checked. Every year when you go in for your physical or whatever.
Thank you so much.
Get checked. Get those major things. Ask them about your kidney function.
Right.
I want to check it, especially if it runs in your family.
Right. Or if you're older, I know my nephrologist at U of M, we want to push, Kidneys for Kids want to push where everybody's annual checkup includes a test, a blood test for your kidney function, because it's so simple. And if 1 out of every 7 people, like you're saying, have it, and more so in the minority communities, why wouldn't this blood test, which is so low cost, be given to everybody that is at risk or maybe over a certain age, to where things are found earlier and then they can be attended to?
Especially when you look at once someone finds out later down the road, and now this person has to go on dialysis.
Absolutely.
Because we know dialysis is usually the first step. There is a preemptive transplant,
Right.
where they get to miss dialysis. And I tell people all the time, I have not heard one person say that they enjoyed being on dialysis.
No.
Not one.
No. And then with our kids, we obviously try to get a preemptive transplant if we reach them before they're on dialysis, because then their outcome is usually better. If they, as an adult or child, if they receive the kidney before dialysis, they have less chance of rejection and keeping the kidney for a longer period. So, yeah, I mean, everything that you're doing is, what I've been pushing for, and we're going to push for in 2026 as part of our National Driving for Life campaign.
And we just have to get that message out. It's really important. The more people who know it, spread that at your family reunions,
Right.
at our churches where we have gatherings,
Right.
so that, a lot of times we know people don't want to talk about organ donation,
Right, because then you bring up the subject of death.
death. Nobody wants to face that. Well, that's something that we're all going to face eventually.
Right.
But, unless we start talking about it on a realistic platform, at some point we're going to face this. Make your wishes known. Even if you don't want to be an organ donation, let that be organ donor.
Right.
Let that be known also, because we don't know what we're going to walk into.
Right.
Or how we're going to leave. But
Right.
sometimes it can be an ugly situation when your family has to make it.
Right.
Or you say you want to be an organ donor, but you didn't tell anybody.
And then your family is against it or doesn't think that they're respecting your wishes because they don't know.
And I've known that happen in 3 instances.
Okay.
Or people who want to be donors, but at the end of the road, no, I don't think she wanted that.
Right.
Really, she did, but...
Right. But everything wasn't clearly spelled out beforehand.
Exactly.
So all of us need to have those kind of things, whether a living will or instructions, upon something happening to me. These are my final wishes.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody should have.
Tell your immediate family, let them know.
Yeah.
Because I think it's very clear. I told them, when I pass, you don't even need to send flowers. Just drape me under a donate life flag and I'm a happy camper. Roll me on out. And whatever you can take out, give it to somebody.
Yeah. And that's, we talk about, obviously, we're pushing people to become living kidney donors to children nationally. And then back in Michigan, we also support adults for doing that. But then we also want them to come over and sign up to be life donors at the end of life and be deceased organ donors when they pass, which is your mission.
And I'd like to put a shout out to living donors, because I don't think people realize the sacrifice that they make. It's easy to donate an organ, when you're a deceased donor.
Right.
Because you're at the end of your life. But to make that sacrifice while you're living, now that's a true gift. Because I don't think people understand that you really can live on, we have on one kidney. We have, I think, maybe about 3 living donors in our organization, and they live happy, active lives.
Thank you.
I have a relative who's a living donor, and, they're just on the go. It's unbelievable, the energy level. Now, one thing about a living donor is you have to be in good health.
Yes, we do.
Mm-hmm. So maybe share, as a living donor, some of the things that you have to do in order to donate that kidney.
Right. So to donate a kidney as a living donor like I did, you have to be in generally good health, and you have to have 2 functioning kidneys to start with. And as long as you have that, then you go through a series of tests, which are 1 to 2 days depending on the hospital. But you're tested from, top to bottom. So you're getting the benefit. Like, I was 51 when I donated, and I had been a person that would only go to the doctor when I needed to. So I didn't know, going into these tests, I could have had something that would have been discovered. And people have had that, where they've tested to become a living donor, and the test ended up saving their life because a cancer was found early, or something else was found early because of all this testing, and then they were able to have treatment. So to become a living donor, you're first of all going to find out you're in perfect health, that you can function the way you do with 2 kidneys, with just 1, and share that, what we call a spare kidney, to a person who is in dire need. Sometimes it's life and death for them to get that kidney. So it's not an easy process, and you have to follow rules. If you were a smoker, for example, you'd have to be a non-smoker for a period of time. Sometimes, like you had said, to get your lungs. If you were overweight and you wanted to donate to help a friend, family member, or somebody you want to save, you might have to lose weight or follow some kind of a program to get you into the health needed to become a living donor. But if you're willing to do that, we want to dispel the myths of you and I talking about this, that you do not become disabled. I'm just one living example, and that's why we travel the country doing this and tell this story and over that, like I say, 63, I feel like I'm 30 every day. I'm very blessed. I don't feel any difference, and I haven't in the whole 12 and a half years since I donated. My body has never told me you have one kidney, or you're doing less, or you don't have enough energy or something. All those things that people hear or are told, they're totally false. That you'll live this kind of a life because you're going into it that healthy. You're going to come out that healthy, and that one kidney is going to shift gears and take over and become the function of two kidneys. It's just going to up its game, basically. So that's what we want people to know on our end.
And I was just sitting here thinking of all the people that are at dialysis centers all over the nation. I think it's about 85,000. The number changes or something like that.
Yeah.
Like I said, the greatest need is kidneys.
Right. There's almost 100,000.
But the benefit of being a living donor is it would knock that list down just from, that's what really makes a difference in a living donor. You know who you're going to give that kidney to.
Right.
In most cases.
In most cases, unless
in
it's
most
altruistic.
cases,
Yep.
especially if those who need the kidney. And I think they need to be a little more vocal about it. A lot of times I've talked to some people, and that has to be a difficult ask. I understand that also.
Right. It's not like you're asking for $1 for lunch.
Thank you,
or something.
$100. Could you loan me $100? Could you give me a body part, please, so I can continue to live?
Right.
And it's a difficult ask, but guess what? You never know where that donor could be.
Right.
And people are compassionate.
Yes, they are.
And we have to believe that. Your donor is out there somewhere.
Right. It's just a matter, like when Jess, when I saw her story, I saw it in our newspaper just by chance. God put me in the right place at the right day to see this newspaper, and she only lived 4 blocks away from me, and we had never met. So I used that today to tell, like you're saying, your donor could literally live by you, literally be around the corner, but may never have met you. But when they see that story or hear that story, their compassion will come out, hopefully come out. But the more you have to spread it, you have to have the odds in your favor and be willing to talk about it.
Yeah, you have to tell it. You have to tell it. Like I said, the living donors in our group, I know one is very active. I've never seen her. I mean, she works, she vacations, she does almost everything. And we even have one here, Trish, who has this group. But anyway, I mean, they're just on the move. The benefit of these people who donate a part of themselves. And you get to see the blessing that you've given to someone else.
Right, absolutely.
And I think that would be the best part.
Yeah, well, it is for me, I can say, because I know a lot of donors that have donated altruistically, or, they donate to somebody they may never meet just for the sake of saving somebody's life. But for me, seeing Jessica grow up, I mean, it's a gift every day I see her when she comes home from college, to know that, part of me now is getting a doctorate degree. I kid with her that my left side is smarter because it's getting a doctorate degree, where my right side only got an associate's. And my left side now has traveled my former left kidney, which she calls Brian.
Oh.
I know. I didn't find that out until just this year. But, it traveled this year or last year to Rome and Tuscany. So we talk about it in that, between us in that state, you and I have done this, you and I have done that. And it's true, because she's doing that with part of me. And I can't imagine a greater reward every time I see her.
And it's not about self, gratification or anything like that. It's definitely not about the donor. I would think it would be just about, you're doing something wonderful for somebody else.
Yeah.
Just because you want to.
Absolutely.
No pat on the back, no praise, no nothing.
Right.
Just, here's a gift.
Right. And I've gotten that, since we formed Kidneys for Kids, because at first, before we were really a whole organization, and now teamed with Charles and our television network, it was just, a guy to people traveling the country, and advocating, talking about this. And I had people saying, you're going out, and it's like you're taking a vacation and driving 7 to 10,000 or last 12,000 miles across the country and talking about yourself. Well, if I don't talk about myself and be a living example, it's not for my gratification. I'm gratified every time I see my recipient. That's my gift. My function in life now is just to be a messenger going forward and talking about this over and over and over again, and hoping it inspires more and more people. Because doing this so far, this is our 4th year, we've inspired now 14 people, 14 adults, to donate 14 kidneys to 14 children. And our goal is 100 kidneys for 100 kids by 2029. So we have a lofty goal that we still have a long ways to go.
Got a lot of time, man.
A lot of time. But we have the belief that in telling this, in working with you and compassionate people like you around the United States that are willing and doing the work like you are to dispel myths and push forward living donation, deceased organ donation, that's saving lives across the country. I couldn't imagine any more gratifying job, than I have. But it is a job. It is work day and night to do all this.
Yeah, that's why I was kind of smirking when you said vacation. It's a lot of work behind what you do.
Yeah.
And although you get to see different cities,
sure,
and meet different people,
right,
but it's hard.
Yeah.
Doing what you do.
We juggle every morning between the TV interviews we're going to do. We have to know if the press is going to be there. You're calling days before and then the day of. Sometimes the hospitals. I was talking about this before the interviews. I've been working with them for months, and we still have hospitals we're seeing in the next week. We don't know if the interview is going to actually happen in the hospital or not. It comes down to the media teams, and no matter how much the transplant teams, or if we have a family there, especially with the particular child we're already helping, it's always up to the media teams. And maybe they've done too many interviews this year on kidney transplants or something. And, we've gotten told that this story isn't, newsworthy right now to us or something. And it's not about me or us. It's about this message. And we're coming to promote your program, to talk about the wonderful things your transplant center does. And you get to tell about the children that you have there. How many children need transplants? How many people do we need to come forward to save these children? So if we didn't do this traveling and talk about all these things daily, they wouldn't happen.
And the more people you reach, the more at least somebody has heard the need.
Absolutely.
I think they need to, we had that theme one time, see the faces, hear the voices, feel the love.
That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if you see these people, I think that's why it's so very important. Some kind of way there should just be a network where you can just see. I mean, from children up to adults. I know someone who's 95 on dialysis.
Oh my Lord.
And my thing is, how could somebody at that age, which is good, you can still do dialysis.
Sure.
It makes you wonder why not at age 50 or something like that. Unless you develop kidney disease at way down the road somewhere.
Right.
Was that option even shared with the person?
Right, when they could have gotten a transplant.
Exactly. And we have to even consider things like that to make sure that everybody knows. I mean, just to sit and talk about it. And I know a lot of times, unless it affects you or your family,
Yeah, absolutely.
then people really don't care.
Right.
But the moment when it hits home,
yeah,
then we want everybody to drop what they're doing and, hey, I need so and so and so, and what do I need to do?
Sure.
But I think that's why it's important now that we keep doing what we're doing. You have to, whether it's received or not.
Yes.
And it's not anything that you can't force down anybody's throat.
No, somebody has to be willing.
Just spread awareness. That's all we want to do. Here's an option.
Right.
First of all, prevention.
Right.
if we can change some things, because our thing is your health matters. Let me put a plug in.
Right.
Your health matters, and the three components are nutrition,
Right.
physical activity,
Right.
and mental health.
Right.
And all those things are important. Even if you get to the point where you need a transplant, then you have to make sure that you're mentally stable
To receive the transplant.
to receive the transplant or just to receive that news. Because I know even when my pulmonologist told me, guess what? And I knew I wasn't getting better. You go through denial.
Sure.
And when he told me, you're going to need a transplant, I laughed in his face. Ha! Shirley, you don't know what you're talking about. And I said, well, I'm going to get a second opinion. And of course, they told me the same thing. Same thing. So, I mean, if you have to be mentally stable. And, all three of those components. But like I said, prevention
Is a big thing.
is a key.
Right. Yeah.
Don't get caught in that position. First of all, if there are some things you can change in your life,
Right.
then do that now
Yeah.
while you can.
Right. Because later on, you let the circumstances get to the point, like the young lady I talked to you about before this interview, getting to a point where, now she's facing a big health crisis because of avoiding going to the doctor and then getting 3 different diagnoses, and then her not losing belief in doctors because one saying one thing, one saying another, and then not going back for treatment. And then in her case, it's a kidney cancer and having it spread, and now facing a much more dire diagnosis.
And it happens all the time.
Because of no treatment or lack of health care. We talked about that, and you do a lot of as far as getting people that don't have health care the proper health care. But you see, I'm sure, some amazing stories.
Yeah, I just found out about a company, a plan that I think is just absolutely wonderful, and it focuses on kidney patients.
Okay.
And a lot of benefits about it. I don't know if I can call their name, and I won't. But yeah, it's really worthwhile.
So people need to look in when they're looking at a diagnosis like, let's say, kidney disease. They need to look into all these resources because they're out there.
That's very important because, like I said, in the run of a week, we try to contact people, or people will contact us sometimes and ask different situations. And that's very important because you're sitting at home stressing a lot of times about something that may not even happen, but just in case it does, we need to have resources in place. Well, you can call this person and do this, or call this company. I'm sure they can help you. People don't know where to turn a lot of times.
Right, and that's where EMAT comes in as far as for people here in all of this region of Florida. You're working with people all around the Jackson area?
Well, basically here in the Jacksonville area, one of our goals is to expand into at least 3 more counties.
Okay.
Of course, we can really spread awareness throughout the state of Florida, anywhere really.
Right.
But we do want to enlarge our territory, because this word is so important.
Right, and that's why I wanted to, do this interview again with you today, because last year when we met, everything we talked about, everything you showed me, you're doing so much that this program needs to be bigger because you're saving lives because of the messages you're giving. You're dispelling myths. You're talking about nutrition, your health, preventative things. And if that got bigger and bigger, we know it would just help more people.
But you know what? And there are so many, I've met so many people. Social media is a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
I know it has its kickbacks and all that, but I've met so many wonderful people with organizations, just like ours.
Right.
And like you said, if we form that alliance and, with social media, you can talk to somebody in Maryland, in Colorado. You develop these relationships and friendships with people you really don't know other than through social media.
Right.
But still, there are some things that are universal. And that's what's important. That help or just a kind voice. I may not ever meet you in person.
Right.
But the kind voice, the help, the assistance,
Right.
Just knowing somebody cares
Right.
makes all the difference.
Makes all the difference in the world. We have that now with an ambassador network throughout some of the states we're traveling to, and to have that person there that can be close by if we have a patient there, or somebody in need that can guide them, give them the guidance more personally, like you say. A lot of times, just being able to talk to somebody.
It's easy to give up because I've been in that place. I'm pretty strong. I'm not a give up kind of person. But, everybody isn't. I've heard so many people say, well, I don't have a caregiver.
Right.
Well, my relative lives in another state. And I understand that because people can't drop what they're doing.
Sure.
They have their own household to take care of, and here's a person who's now hopeless.
Right.
They have a physical, problem with their body, and there's nobody there who can step in.
Right.
So that takes a toll on you, and a lot of people just throw up their hands and say, never mind.
Right. And your organization gives them the resources and the information to give them hope.
Right.
So.
And we just formed a little group inside of our organization. We call them the spiritual support team, who, if you feel despondent or whatever, you may be listed, you may be trying to get listed. And what those people will do is they just kind of call every week, just to let you know, we care.
We care.
Do you need prayer or whatever the case may be?
Right.
And you really have to look at the whole person, not just the person who's sick.
Right.
Because I'm sick. That's all. And I've even heard a person say, "Well, I can't get a job because I'm on dialysis," and I understand that. That deals with you mentally because now, guess what? Now I can't take care of myself. You won't hire me. And although they have disability, disability kind of puts you in a box, those funds.
Right. Right.
And you have enough just to maybe pay your rent or
Right.
your car payment.
Because
and after that, you're out of money.
Right, because you have to be at a certain income level. You can't have assets if you get to that point, and you're just living in a survival mode basically day to day.
Exactly. And like I said, you talk to people and you hear all the woes and we do want to be that organization. We don't have thousands, we don't have millions.
Right.
If there's anybody out there, donate to us, just like I'm sure with your. We could
Absolutely.
all use those funds to help people.
Right.
Because you'll never know the stories and the things that people go through.
Right.
And that's why we try to have, fundraisers throughout the year. So when we get that call, well, I just need money to do so and so. So I can't even pay my rent this month.
Right. And they're taking a choice between paying rent, buying food,
Or medication.
or medication.
That's a big one.
Right.
I got to get my medicine.
Right. And then if I get my medicine, I don't have food.
I can't do this.
Right.
Exactly. So
We don't.
it's a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah. And just, I'm sure there's so many more things we can cover, but just to get the scope of everything you're doing is what I wanted to talk about this morning, because we had such a great conversation last year,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to come back to all this.
And off camera.
And off
That's
camera.
when we have the best conversation.
But with thanks to Charles here today, we're able to have this on camera, and this will be part of this will be an actual episode. We're getting in such a nice conversation here today and talking about so many things. This will be a whole episode this fall on our TV networks.
That's wonderful.
So, and we're both going to be able to use this going forward to promote what we're both doing, and we're going to continue to work together.
Wonderful.
And we wanted to do this last year. I talked about, but 2026, our focus is going to be trying to, I told you, influence 7,000 people. It's never been done before. 7,000 living donors coming forward for adults and children total in the United States. We've never reached 7,000 living kidney donations in 1 year. So we're going to be working on that, and to work on that along with your organization, spreading awareness and getting rid of some of these myths in minority communities, I think will just add to that going forward. And I hope that we can have an event here next year when we come to promote everything we're doing and really bring in your population here.
That's wonderful. And I think if we can, is there an organization that basically deals with living donors?
With living donors, we work with the National Kidney Registry. So they're the largest facilitator of living kidney donation, paired kidney donation. So that's where, like when we were at Tampa General Hospital yesterday, people sometimes don't realize, we'll hear a lot of times, well, I know somebody that needs a kidney, but I don't match them. And they're like, well, I can't donate now. It's like, no, wait a second. As long as you're healthy enough to donate, you can donate to somebody you do match thanks to the NKR program. And that person could be anywhere in the country. So you donate at your local NKR center, and that produces a voucher. And then that voucher you give to that person or designate to the person you want to help. That person gets the next kidney that's perfectly matched to them out of the NKR pool. So they're getting the absolute best match, and you're giving your kidney to somebody maybe you never meet altruistically. But your kidney is saving somebody's life, and it's a perfect match. So in this way, two people's lives are being saved instead of one. So National Kidney Registry, everybody for watching this, nkr.org is the place to go to learn about living kidney donation and paired kidney donation.
Paired donation, that's what that's called.
Yes. So
Absolutely, that's a good thing.
is there anything you'd like to add that we haven't covered? I mean, we talked about so many great things this morning.
Well, I think we kind of covered it all. We can never say enough about the importance of organ donation. Share with your families, share with your friends. Just let everybody know. When they ask that question at DMV, if you're younger and just getting that driver's license, would you like to be a an organ donor? Please consider people like all of us that you know, transplant recipients, everybody who's in need, and say yes.
Thank you, Shirley.
Thank you.
It's been just a pleasure to meet you, see you again. We know each other as friends, but just to be here again with you.
That's
is an
right. If
honor.
it's only once a year and through social media,
Yeah.
we can touch bases with each other.
Absolutely, and EMAT and Kidneys for Kids can work together going forward in the future.
Wonderful.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Shirley. Thank you, everybody, for being with us today on the Good Karma TV network.